Hey guys, we are now in the fifth, no, wait, no, we're in the sixth part of the second Crusade series by Kings and Generals, and so yeah, I really want to get started, but first, if you want to watch the original video by Kings and Generals, the link to his video is down in the description down below. It is the first link you will find, and if you want to help support my channel, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and maybe consider becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. It would really help me out a lot. Now with that said, and now without any further ado, let us get to it, shall we? Let us watch The Second Crusade by Kings and Generals, Part 6.
To better understand the circumstances behind Zengi's rise, we must begin with changes in the Latin Outremer that occurred after the Crusade of 1129. Jerusalem's failure to capture Damascus and Aleppo marked the end of Baldwin II Labor's dreams of the Crusader states expanding beyond the Levant, and this was not the only trouble the aging king faced. On his way home, King Baldwin found out that his favourite Prince of Antioch, Bohemond II, had died in Cilicia in 1130 during his expedition against the Armenian Prince Levon.
Whoa.
Bohemond had no son, and his own.
Oh wow, I did not expect Bohemond to die like that. I thought he was going to be a long-term player. We were literally just like, what, a minute in? But already I'm like shocked. Because for a second there, I thought Bohemond was going to be like a big-time player. Now that dude got killed. Holy crap. Oh, that sucks. And that's the thing about Antioch. Antioch has been so unstable this series so far because they lost their main military might at like literally the first battle of the series, the battle of Agur Sangunis, and basically were without a king, with Baldwin having to like basically be the guy in charge of it, and they finally get a king with Bohemond's arrival, and now that he's dead. Dude, Antioch has had like one of the worst runs so far. Antioch has been through with this series so far. Dang, this is bad.
Only living heir was just a 2-year-old daughter, Constance, guarded by his now widow and Baldwin's daughter, Princess Elise.
Oh no.
This could only mean that the Principality of Antioch would be thrown into another succession crisis.
Oh no.
In a bid to preserve her.
Okay, initially King Baldwin Labour decided to repeat the same practice by announcing his protection over the empty principality. Good move. Honestly, when Baldwin was in charge of all the Crusader states, I think they achieved some of their greatest successes. So I think going back to that policy and under Baldwin's capable leadership, probably the best they could ask for. However, was met with the anger from Elise, whether due to her being afraid of her father's interference in Antioch's affairs, or desire to rule the principality as her daughter's regent, is not fully known. But unless Elise steps up and proves to be a great ruler, then I think Baldwin should just continue being the ruler, essentially in all but name of Antioch, and going back to the way things were, with him basically being in control of everything.
Power over the principality, Elise did the unthinkable and sent a messenger to the powerful Seljuk Atabeg in the east, acknowledging Antioch as a Seljuk tributary in exchange for his protection.
What? So, okay, wait, let me get this again. The audacity. Wait, let me get this again. I can't believe this.
In a bid to preserve her power over the principality, Elise did the unthinkable and sent a messenger to the powerful Seljuk Atabeg in the east, acknowledging Antioch as a Seljuk tributary in exchange for his protection.
So, instead of like being under Latin influence of literally your own dad, who proved to be a capable leader when he was the regent of Antioch, you would rather basically give up, make Antioch under the thumb of the Seljuks, and basically kind of give up some of their, like, influence because you don't want to lose power. And you don't want your dad to. Okay, the way I'm reading this right now, she just doesn't want to. Whatever power she has, she doesn't want to lose. Which, the way I'm reading this is coming across as a bit selfish, and I'm sure someone will write a comment telling me I'm wrong, usually, but, or that's, you know, whatever, but, like, the way I'm just reading this at the moment, this is a really dumb move on her part. Yeah, it comes across she just wants to be powerful, and she doesn't want her dad taking power, so she would rather invite an outside force that could potentially ruin everything and mess up this. Dang, like, yeah, I'm already not a fan of Elise, dude. Again, the way I'm reading this, it comes across as just someone who just doesn't want to lose their power, and it's kind of being a bit, I guess, just. But then again, like, I get it if it was like a, but like Baldwin, I feel like has already proven himself as, like, when he was the protector of Antioch, he protected the heck out of Antioch. He kept those border cities in line. He won great victories. So things going back to that would be, I think, good for the Crusader state. So her throwing this wrench, I feel like, is really dumb. I don't know, I hope I'm not alone in this, or someone will write, like, telling me I'm wrong, and that, I don't know. There usually is a comment like that, but just the way I'm reading this is, that, dang. I'm sorry, I'm, like, upset now.
The man gladly agreed and moved his army to Antioch. As Baldwin approached Antioch, Elise bribed some of the citizens to lock the gates of the city before the king. If this wasn't bad enough for the king of Jerusalem, some of his knights captured Elise's messenger, who tried to sneak outside the city. The courier's bags contained a secret letter revealing Elise's plans to turn Antioch into a Muslim tributary.
Oh my gosh.
The message turned Baldwin livid. The king ordered the messenger to be hanged and Elise to be arrested.
Dude, yeah, Elise is wilding. She has lost her, I feel like she has lost her mind. So instead of, like, having your dad interfere with, like, issues, you would rather just straight up kind of, I know that the tributary, you kind of just give tribute, but your rather will be under the thumb of, you know, the outside forces, and you wouldn't, which is kind of the whole point of, like, the Crusader states. They don't want to be under the Muslim banner. They don't want to be, like, conquered, right? They want to remain Christian and kind of, for the most part, independent as Christian, at least, you know? But this would kind of make them just completely under the thumb of Muslim forces, and I feel like kind of undo some of a lot of the struggles. I don't know, I could be wrong, like I said. It's just the way I'm feeling right now is definitely like, she's lost her mind, this person. I don't know, I'm not pro Elise. I apologize if you are, because like I said, every time I kind of get in these things, someone's in the comments and writes, well, Edwin, and then, I don't know. This is just me. Maybe just because I'm kind of supportive of Baldwin after his great exploits, so I'm kind of on Team Baldwin on this one.
Baldwin and Fulk set a camp and summoned Count Josselin of Edessa to support them. Eager to redeem himself after his previous quarrel with Beaumont, Josselin answered Baldwin's call and moved against Elise.
Oh my gosh.
The stalemate.
And this creates such a bad problem. The Crusader states, like I said, under Baldwin, for the most part, were unified, and they could expel any outside threat or influence from the Seljuks or any Muslim power. And I feel like that was kind of the main point, right? Like, defend yourselves in Christendom and, not be conquered by Muslim forces. And I feel like Elise is trying to basically undo all of that with this. And now, and the importance of the Crusader states being unified in the face of outside threats was a pretty big theme. Yeah, they had their bitter rivalries and stuff. We saw that in the first Crusade series. But when outside forces came, everyone dropped those and teamed up to have a unified front to face any outside threat. But now, showing this weakness, showing this disunity, basically shows the outside forces, like the Muslim forces, oh, these guys, like, it's like sharks smelling blood in the water, you get what I mean? And they're like, oh, okay, opportunity and chaos. And the Crusader states are already so small that they can't afford to be disunited, especially when larger forces are showing up. So I'm sorry, like I said, Elise has kind of created that many disasters, showing a lack of unity, literally starting this like civil dispute. I apologize. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. She's wild. You know. That's just my opinion though.
Continued under the walls of Antioch for a long time. It was only broken when some Antiochene knights, worried for their city's future, decided to open the gates during the night and let Baldwin inside the city. With the assistance of nobility from all over the principality, both Latin rulers managed to secure Antioch for the king's arrival. Initially, Elise locked herself in Antioch's citadel in desperation. However, she was eventually convinced to emerge by the notables, who guaranteed her protection. In a humiliating ceremony, the princess was dragged out from the tower and...
Okay, despite his success, King Baldwin Lord was put in a very uncomfortable position, as he would have to sentence his own daughter after quiet tension amongst the court in Antioch. Baldwin spoke bitterly about Elise's actions. At the end of his reprimandable speech, he forgave Elise, but he denied her the title of Queen Regent and was to be banished to the lands of Latakia, given to her as a dowry after her marriage with Bohemond. Again, she created quite a lot of problems, I think. And what she did, I think, was really dumb. I think it was really stupid and kind of unnecessary. And it's one thing, I get it, like, you know, I guess she just doesn't want her power or whatever, Antioch influence to be ruled by her dad, but like in the same way, in her grab for power, she would rather just make herself a tributary to an outside force that no doubt does not have the best interest for the Crusader states at heart, like the Muslim forces. So I think that was just dumb. And again, very seldomly in this series, in all these videos we watch from history, very seldomly do I meet a person who upsets me like I've been upset so far. So I'm sorry, like, yeah, Baldwin needed to get her out. I think she created enough of a mess that he had to deal with. Again, maybe it's just because I'm pro Baldwin. I like Baldwin. I think he has proven himself capable as a leader and as the rallying man of all the Crusader states. So I think what his daughter did, like I said, to me is selfish and created unnecessary issues and was very immature. And yeah, that's just my opinion, though. Like I said, I'm sure someone has already written about like that, but that's just how I feel about the whole thing.
Ordered to kneel before Baldwin II. Baldwin II took official regency over Constance, giving Antioch to Jocelyn to govern the city in his name, while he himself returned to Jerusalem. Thus, the situation in Antioch was stabilized, but one question remained unanswered. Who was this powerful Atabeg that, thanks to Elise, had almost managed to shake Antioch to its core?
With Luke Early.
Why, it was none other than Imad ad-Din Zengi. The origins of Imad ad-Din Zengi are rooted in the political complexity of the Abbasid court. Zengi was a son of Qasim ad-Dawiya Aksunkur al-Hajib, who ruled Aleppo before the Crusades in the name of Sultan Malik Shah I. Despite being born among the Seljuk elite, his upbringing turned upside down in 1094 when his father was executed by Tutush, the ruler of Damascus. After losing his heritage, Zengi took refuge in the city of Mosul, where he served under a succession of local lords, growing into his own as a soldier. In 1111, Zengi took part in the first campaign against the Latins. There he was ordered to besiege Edessa, but was unable to take the city due to a lack of resources. However, it would not be the last time Zengi would stand under those walls. Zengi's loyalty to the Seljuk Sultanate was truly put to the test in 1126, when the Abbasid Caliph al-Mustashid craved independence from Sultan Mahmud II of the Great Seljuks. Eager to quell the revolt, Sultan Mahmud sent a Seljuk army commanded by his captain and subordinate Imad ad-Din Zengi. Proving himself in combat, the young Seljuk commander managed to crush the Caliph's forces at the Battle of Wesit and forced al-Mustashid into Seljuk submission. In September 1127, Zengi took advantage of the assassination of the Atabeg of Mosul and took power in the city, from where he seized control over Nisibis, Sinjar, Haran, and much of northern Iraq. Using the temporary quarrel between the Prince of Antioch Bohemond II and Count of Edessa Jocelyn de Courtenay relating to the claim of the fortress of Azaz, Zengi took advantage and seized Aleppo in 1128.
Yeah, King and Generals mentioned that last episode, I think, where he said he's gonna be a big problem. So there's already that ominous threat. And now that he was kind of invited, you know, by Antioch, he seems like a man, like, yeah, he's gonna be, especially with Kings and Generals warning, he's about to shake the entire Crusader states. So I think him seeing that dispute and Antioch, you know, under a lease, basically offering themselves as tributaries, might give him a pretext to move further with his aggression. At least I'm assuming. So, kind of like an open door. I mean, I'm sure he would have inevitably set his sights on them, but that definitely probably saw that. Also seeing the disunity of these guys. He so far has capitalized on their disunity. So seeing that probably would embolden him to take further action, right?
After finally reclaiming his ancestral city, Zengi combined the powers of Mosul and Aleppo under a single rule, securing territories in northern Syria and Iraq. Zengi was a polarizing figure in the Muslim world. To some, he was a fearless commander who could inspire thousands to join his cause. Others, however, saw him as ruthless and cruel. Moreover, he was allegedly a heavy drinker, in flagrant violation of the basic rules of Islam. Despite this, Zengi was undeniably the first Atabeg who could fully utilize the call for jihad against the Crusader states. At the beginning of his rule in Aleppo and Mosul, Zengi knew he wasn't ready to fight the Latin states, especially under King Baldwin Labor's watch. Thus, he temporarily signed a truce with Edessan Count Jocelyn, focusing his efforts on consolidating his rising Zengid state. After reclaiming his home city, Zengi decided to continue his expansion towards Damascus. Initially, Zengi tried to convince its emir Buri to join their forces to prosecute the Holy War. Officially, Buri agreed to the alliance, but secretly he distrusted Zengi, fearing the Atabeg's ambitions. Buri's doubts were later confirmed when Zengi captured the Damascene embassy, led by his son Sevinj, and then locked him in the famous citadel of Aleppo. Zengi used Sevinj as his hostage to capture the towns of Menbij and Hama, though his attempt at taking Homs was thwarted by the local garrison. In a matter of 3 years of his reign, Zengi could extend his power from Mosul all the way to Homs. Thus began the long-standing rivalry between the Zengid state and the Emirate of Damascus. Meanwhile, after the events in Antioch, Baldwin II's health began to deteriorate, and the constant stress of carrying the Latin kingdoms upon his back had eventually taken its toll on the King of Jerusalem. In August 1131, it became clear that the death of King Baldwin II was imminent.
Oh, that makes me sad to hear, dude. You know what? For this series, as of right now, Baldwin, you have proven yourself time and time again. I give you the MVP award, because this man carried basically all the Crusader states on his back. Minus at one point where he got captured. That was a little blight on his perfect record. But other than that, he had a great record. And he defeated threat after threat and accomplished great things. This guy was a Chad. I love Baldwin was great. I did not know about Baldwin II before this series started, but he became my favorite character. He feels like the main character of this series so far. But we're not even halfway there, and now he's gonna be leaving us, and that makes me sad. Because he was kind of the main guy. Dang, the Crusader states are gonna take quite the loss when Baldwin's gone. Oh, that's not good. I'm like worried. Who's gonna step up after Baldwin? I guess his new son-in-law is gonna have to carry it, but I'm a bit worried because anyone who follows Baldwin has big shoes to fill. So, dang, I'm sad to see if Baldwin's gonna be leaving us now.
On his deathbed, Baldwin Le Beau asks Jerusalem's nobility to move him from his royal palace to the Patriarch's residence near Calvary, where he wanted to die as close to Christ as possible. There, on the 21st of August 1131, Baldwin II passed away. According to Le Beau's will,
Rip Baldwin, rest in peace, bro. Rest in peace.
The kingdom of Jerusalem would henceforth be ruled by his daughter Melisande and her husband Fulk of Anjou, who would serve as...
Okay, let's hope that, like, these guys... Let's hope Melisande is a better daughter than Alice. I'm hoping she steps up. And Fulk, I'm hoping he can be as competent, or anywhere near as competent as Baldwin. It's literally, the ball is in their court now. They have to now carry it. The torch, as it were. I'm rooting for these guys. I'm hoping they do well. Dang. What the heck? I'm sorry, I saw something at the corner of my eye. Nothing was there. That was creepy. Alright, let's get back to this.
Joint rulers and guardians of their sons, Baldwin III and Amalric. Soon after Baldwin's passing, death visited his right-hand man Joscelin as well. As the Count of Edessa was besieging a small Zengid fort near Aleppo, he went into a faulty siege tunnel which collapsed, leaving Joscelin heavily wounded. At the same time, emboldened by his victory over Prince Bohemond, and assuming Joscelin was already dead, the Danish-Menid warlord Ghazi attacked the county of Edessa and besieged Kaysan. When news of the Seljuk attack on their homeland reached the Edessan camp, Joscelin initially asked his son, Joscelin II, to ride with their host to meet the Seljuk host in battle. The younger Joscelin refused, stating that the numerical advantage of the Danishmends was too heavy. Angered by this response, Joscelin I got out of bed and dragged himself onto a litter, commanding his force against Danishmend Ghazi, despite...
Oh my gosh. Okay, Joscelin also kind of metal for doing that. But now I'm worried that if he perishes, what the heck is gonna happen to Edessa? Everything is gonna be, like, unstable now. I feel like for a brief moment. Like, hopefully everyone after Baldwin, and if Jocelyn dies, everyone's gonna need to really step up and quickly fill in the void. You know, but we'll see.
His injuries. The Seljuk warlord, surprised at the sudden arrival of Joscelin, quickly returned to Anatolia. But the journey cost Joscelin dearly. Overjoyed by this victory, the Edessan count soon realized that his venture opened his wounds, after which he fell off the litter and died by the nearest roadside, leaving...
Dang, dude, rest in peace. All the main characters are just dying now, so I'm like, dang, now we're left with a bunch of new people who I'm worried, like, if they're gonna be able to hold it. Dang, man, that's sad. In a way, Jocelyn II kind of led to his father's death because he didn't go, so his dad felt like he had to. So I guess indirectly kind of led to his death. That's sad.
The county of
Edessa, or at least
Edessa,
quicker to his death, I don't know.
To his son, Jocelyn II. And so the reign of the Latin rulers who took the cross in 1095 had finally come to an end. It was time for a new generation of Christian rulers to continue their father's legacy. However, the idea of a unified Latin leadership under the crown of Jerusalem, which had existed under Baldwin II, no longer seemed possible, as the new Latin elite was far more eager to expand their personal influence than to serve Jerusalem willingly.
Which I think might be a bad problem. Like I said, the closest we've seen to Crusader states as one unified entity was under Baldwin II. And while they couldn't expand in wars of conquest, they could wage wars of defense and manage to propel any enemy that attacked them. And that it took all of them being united under one man, Baldwin, to achieve that success. So this worries me now that everyone's like kind of going more individual. Like we've already seen that some of these guys can't stand on their own. They don't have the manpower. So being this unified now would create plenty of opportunities for, you know, Muslim forces to kind of have an easier time, in my opinion. Like I said, the Crusader states kind of need one guy in charge of it. Like Baldwin II, like I think that was like the best they could do under the leadership and following one capable ruler. So this worries me. I think things are not gonna go for the best now.
Moreover, the new royal couple in Jerusalem simply did not possess enough authority or strength to simultaneously combine all the Crusader states in the Outremer as their predecessor did.
Which, that would be a big manpower loss. Because Baldwin several times needed to assemble everyone into one group in order to have odds against their enemies. Without that unified manpower of what they have, things are gonna be very dangerous now, dude. That is, I'm worried now. I'm very worried now, guys.
Before Baldwin's body had even gone cold, Princess Elise returned to Antioch in 1131 and convinced the city to not recognize Fulk as their regent.
Oh no.
She convinced the Antiochian lords of Zerdana, Sayun, and even the counts of Edessa and Tripoli to join her cause. When Fulk marched out of Jerusalem to punish Elise, the Tripolitan troops blocked key castles at Chastel Rouge and...
You know what? I don't care, dude. I don't like Elise. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but like, I'm just saying it unfiltered now, dude. She sucks. Dang. What she did to her chat fodder and now it's trying to do to every... She's basically sowing disunity. It's already kind of going there, but she's pushing it. I hope I'm not alone at this, guys. I'm hoping that when this video comes out and I read the comments, at least someone understands where I'm coming from and can agree with me on this. Am I alone in this? Is this an unpopular opinion? I'm hoping not, because if it is, I'm going to be very sad. I can't stand Elise. She's like my least favorite character now in this entire series.
Ascan. Not eager to play on Alice's terms, Fulk used Jerusalem's fleet to sail all the way from Beirut to the harbour of St. Simeon, after which the battle ensued south of Antioch. In the ensuing struggle, King Fulk defeated the rebels. As Elise was forced to return to Latakia, Fulk assumed regency over Constance, appointing the veteran of the Ager-Sanguinis, Renaud Mazois, as the principality's constable to rule in his name.
Okay, at least Fulk managed to do that. Another L in Alice's record.
Despite this, Elise was not through with her political machinations. Around 1135, Antioch's patriarch Bernard died, and Renaud Mazois vanished from the records. The new patriarch, Rodolphe of Domfront, had no intention of sharing power with Fulk, and called Elise back to Antioch. This time, Elise outsmarted Fulk by writing a letter to Melisande, who, persuaded by Elise's words, granted the princess safe return from exile. When Fulk again arrived at the principality, he couldn't do anything but watch as Antioch slipped from his grasp. Despite Elise's resistance, she had little to no support within the city walls. She knew that this time, Zengi wouldn't risk a march on Antioch, with Fulk present in Syria. So Elise decided to send letters to Roman Emperor John Komnenos, promising Antioch as a Byzantine vassal, and marriage between her daughter Constance and the future Emperor Manuel in
Okay. The Romans are now getting involved. I'm actually really happy. Rome was just chilling right here. But I do know John Komnenos, and I know his son Manuel. And the Komnenos family was pretty good, actually. Like, we already covered Alexios, my favorite Byzantine emperor. We know John. I do know John and his accomplishments. He also was good. And Manuel kind of has a bit of a, well, I don't think as good as the previous two. But, you know, I've heard good things about him, so I guess not awful. So that's honestly the best you can ask for. Just don't be awful. So I don't think anyone thinks Manuel's awful. So, okay. Not as bad. At least is trying to be like, I don't mind the Romans gaining. At least they're Christian, right? Like, you know, under that banner, like, she was trying, but the thing is, she doesn't really care. She's just trying to hold on to whatever political power she wants. She doesn't care whose influence she falls under, which just shows me that, like, she's just motivated by pure power, position, or whatever she thinks she has. And that's like a bit like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's really, it drives me as, you know, I don't know, it rubs me in the wrong way, like I said. I'm not sure this video is gonna get, like, a bunch of, like, fallback because of how I've been talking about it, or my frustration, but I guess we'll find out. But, I don't know. It definitely, like, rubs me the wrong way.
exchange for her and Constance's protection. Though this recipe for Byzantine-Latin cooperation had initial merit, bypassing the opinion of the Antiochian nobility and clergy turned the whole city against her, including her former ally, Patriarch Radulf. Fulk took advantage of this, opening negotiations with the Antiochian.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Fulk promised the princess to marry her to a son of the Duke of Aquitaine named Raymond of Poitiers in order to strengthen her position. As young and charming Raymond arrived in Antioch, Alice took the bait as she believed Raymond could be easily controlled. However, as Alice was found too busy with the wedding preparations, the Antioch elite with Fulk's men kidnapped Constance and forced her to marry Raymond instead. How old is Constance, by the way, at this point? She looks like a child. I mean, I know people married young, but okay, so, when Alice found her daughter gone, it was too late. The ceremony was over, and Raymond became the new prince. Dude. I am at least happy that every time Alice tries something, it fails horribly. Like, everything she tries to do backfires so hard. That goes to show me she was not built to be, like, in power, bro. She was not built for politics.
Elites to install one Duke William of Aquitaine as leader of Antioch. Realizing her defeat, Elise retires to Latakia, never to return.
Oh, thank God.
As Antioch went through another crisis, Zengi's ambitions to seize Damascus were temporarily halted by the events taking place in Baghdad. In September 1131, Sultan Mahmud ibn Muhammad died, plunging the Great Seljuk Empire into yet another civil war. Mahmud had been a close ally of Zengi's, which meant that wrong choices could threaten Zengi's position in the Sultanate. The lands of the Great Seljuks were divided between Mahmud's sons and other claimants, among which was one Masud of Fars. As Masud had the least support among all the claimants within the Eastern Seljuk nobility, he asked Zengi for help. On June 1132, they jointly marched on Baghdad. Being freed from the Sultan's grip, Caliph Mustashid took control of the city and sent an army to confront the claimant and the Atabey. As Zengi's army marched carelessly through Iraq, it was soundly defeated by the Caliph's forces at Samarra, near modern-day Tikrit. Zengi and Masud managed to flee the battlefield. Still, Zengi's political career might have ended right there if not for the support of a local Kurdish governor of Tikrit, Najm al-Din Ayyub, who was incidentally the father of a certain Salah ad-Din. From that day forward, the Ayyubid clan gained Zengi's trust and rose rapidly to prominence under the Atabeg's command. Eventually, Zengi managed to regroup his forces with Masud. Together, they renewed their offensive on Baghdad, but this offensive was also a tactical failure and ended in their withdrawal. A few years later, in 1135, Zengi attempted to take Damascus, but was unable to exploit the political turmoil going on in the former Umayyad capital to subdue the city. Unwilling to dissuade his followers from jihad against the Latins, back in 1133, Zengi had sent his second-in-command, Sawar, to raid Tripolitan territory. Paul, the Count of Tripoli, rode out to repel these raids, but was ambushed and forced to find refuge in the Montferrat castle. Fulk decided to help Paul, and after assembling a quick relief force, scattered the Turkoman raiders near the castle. This act improved relations between Jerusalem and Tripoli. Meanwhile, Sawar decided to redirect his raids onto the county of Edessa. Jocelyn II did not possess the same tactical genius as his father did. Leaving the safety of Edessa, he was defeated by the Zengid host and retreated to Tobessel with his army in shambles. The Zengid leader camped his army at Kenethrin. At that point, Fulk and Paul's army had finally arrived. By combining their forces, they made a successful night attack.
Okay, Fulk is a great successor, at least so far. I think Fulk is proving to be a good follower, a follow-up. So I think Baldwin's ambassadors chose well with Fulk. Dude, W for King Louis of France for recommending Fulk. Like, he had the best interest for Jerusalem in mind with this guy. And Fulk's going about it the right way. Now things are a bit more disunified, but what is he doing? He's helping out his fellow Crusaders, winning their trust, showing that he's on their side. So this possibly could go well if he keeps it up and keeps succeeding. You know what I mean? So I think Fulk is playing it really well right now.
On the Zengid camp. Despite Fulk's success and his triumphal return to Jerusalem, the Sawar raids only intensified due to increasing numbers of followers willing to fight for Zengi. This only escalated when Zengi's ally, Masud, managed to rout the Abbasid Caliph's army at the Battle of Daimag in June 1135. The Caliph was exiled to Azerbaijan, where he was murdered by the assassins, most likely with Masud's guidance. Zengi's gamble to support...
These assassins are everywhere. They keep striking out of nowhere in this series. I feel like they're like Assassin's Creed is in the background right now.
Masud had paid off. The new sultan gained power in Baghdad and installed a new caliph as his puppet. Now favored by the Seljuk Sultan, perhaps the most powerful Muslim leader in the world, Zengi had a powerful ally at his back, especially against the Christian Franks.
Oh no.
This gave Zengi all the supplies and manpower he needed to expand his territory into not only Damascus, but also the Latin states. Not wanting to delay his promises, Zengi made his first strike in 1135. He rejoined his forces with a newly acquired army from Iraq. This time, Zengi was not satisfied with just raiding. By testing Latin defenses, the Atabeg concluded that the Principality of Antioch would turn out to be the weakest scale in the Crusader state's armor. Moreover, by cutting off the Principality of Antioch from...
And he's not wrong. Antioch has been struggling this entire series. Between their humiliating loss in the first episode, through all the eternal conflicts, through the loss of Bohemond, Elise's... whatever the heck she was doing, just... Antioch has proven to be the weak link, and that's sad, because Antioch, when it was first founded, like in the first Crusade series, under Bohemond I, was pretty powerful and well sought after. Now it's become kind of like the unstable one. They fell off. They peaked with Bohemond I and never recovered after that. Dang. And he's not wrong. Like, yeah, Antioch has proven to be the most unstable, I feel, so far in this series. So, Zengi is completely right, I think, in his assessment of going after them and splitting Edessa from the rest. Good move. And he has now way more manpower. Like, he's gonna be the biggest challenge yet. And I think Baldwin maybe was kind of the leader that is definitely needed, but Folk is gonna he's had a pretty good start, but Folk is gonna have to really get on King Baldwin's level to match threats like these. So hopefully he can prove to be continue proving he's a great successor.
County of Edessa, Zengi could lay a staging ground for further invasions on the Edessan territory. His calculations proved to be correct. The Atabeg's army swept through western Syria and the Orontes Valley, successfully besieging Kafatab, Ma'arat an-Numan, Ma'arat Misrin, Zardana, and Atharim.
Oh my gosh.
In response to
he's taking so much, especially Sadara, which was a pretty big one that everyone's been fighting for. So much invasion and fighting has been in these border cities of frickin' Antioch. Oh man.
His successes on the Latin front, Zengi renewed his offensive to the south by taking advantage of the infighting between Damascus and Tripoli. In 1136, Yusuf, Emir of Damascus, was murdered by his Mamluk Bazawash due to his unpopular policy of maintaining peace with the Franks. Bazawash then fled to Baalbek with his retainers, threatening to return with an army if the Burids refused to renew fighting with the Latins. Reluctant, the newly appointed Emir Mahmud agreed, and in the next year, Bazawash invaded the county of Tripoli. He and his Damascene army used wealth and religious tensions between the Latin elite and local Syrian Christians living near Mount Lebanon to move through the Lebanon passes. This allowed the Burid forces to penetrate through the Tripolitan defenses. Upon hearing the news of Damascus's sudden attack, Count Paul was yet again taken completely off guard. Assembling a contingent of his knights, Paul rushed from Tripoli to retake the initiative, but upon seeing the Muslim force, he fled into the mountains. There he was betrayed by the locals, handed over to the enemy, and killed. The sudden death.
Oh my god. Oh, Tripoli is screwed. Holy crap, dude. Dude, Folk, you have your hands full with this one. Jerusalem is gonna have to carry so hard. Oh man, everything is falling apart.
Of Paul left Tripoli paralyzed, and if not for Basawash's unwillingness to push for the city itself, the county of Tripoli's existence could be threatened. Rule over Tripoli was left to Paul's 22-year-old son, Rimor II. Unlike his cynical, opportunist father, Rimor was much more hot-tempered and eager to confront his opponents directly. Eager for vengeance, the new Tripolitan count sent a punitive expedition against border Muslim and Christian Armenian communities. Confident in his abilities to uphold Lebanon for Tripoli, he decided to bring the fight to Muslim lands. Sadly for the count, Bazawash...
Yeah, I think aggression is not the best thing to have, at least be hot-headed. Like, caution is kind of needed, I feel. So, I'm not sure how I'm reading Raymond right now, but I think he might bite off more than he can chew.
Retreated to Baalbek and refused to fight. Thus, Rimor decided to confront Zengi, who at that time was besieging the city of Homs, governed by Burid governor Unur. Surprised by the Tripolitans' action,
yeah, definitely, it is audacious. It's very bold, but I think Raymond I think he should have... I think Zengi is the kind of threat that all the Crusader states need to unify for. I think Tripoli trying to do it on its own seems dangerous, but again, who knows? But I'm not getting a good vibe from Raymond.
Zengi lifted the siege and decided to move against Rimor. When the Tripolitan force approached Homs, Rimor realized he was outnumbered and began his retreat to the castle of Montferrand, with Zengi pursuing hot on his heels. Seeing little chance of defeating Zengi by himself, Rimor II sent letters to King Fulk asking for help. The King of Jerusalem answered the call and quickly amassed his forces to move out against Zengi. However, this sense of urgency proved to be disastrous for Latin logistics. Upon hearing about Fulk's approach, Zengi initially thought of lifting the siege, but when he realized just how badly prepared the Frankish army was, he decided to rush forward with his army and face the Latins in battle. Just as the Franks came out of the hills close to the castle, the Turkomans and Syrians descended upon them. resulting in most of the Latins being slain on the battlefield.
Ooh.
Only a handful of knights were taken captive.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, they're done. If Fulk in Jerusalem is beaten, oh, they're done. Dude, Zengi. Oh man. Dude, Baldwin is like rolling in his grave right now. He's like, oh, like, dang it. Oh, this is awful.
Together with Remor, while Fulk fled with his retainers back to the castle. It was now Fulk's turn to be rescued. He sent messages to the Patriarch of Jerusalem, William, Remor of Poitiers, and Jocelyn II. Sensing the direness of the situation, the Latins ignored other risks and banded together in an attempt to rescue the king. Luckily,
okay, this is good. At least they can at least be more unified with an outside force. They really need it right now. Zengi is proving to be incredibly dangerous.
Jerusalem, Fatimid Egypt had been embroiled in a civil war, meaning Jerusalem could focus all its efforts on relieving Montferrat. All the Latin hosts met at Bucay, after which Remor, Jocelyn, and the Patriarch moved against Zengi. Meanwhile, the situation around the castle was becoming dire for Fulk and his men. Zengi prepared for an all-out siege, and with the assistance of 10 mangonels, the walls began to give in. To add insult to injury, the supplies at Montferrat were running low, and with no reinforcements looming on the horizon, Fulk sent a herald to Zengi to consider the terms of Montferrat's surrender. Their terms were quite generous for the Latin king. In exchange for handing over the fortress, Fulk could leave it freely with all his men, followed by no ransom. As the king was returning back to Jerusalem, Fulk rejoined with his relief force. Despite seemingly insignificant gains, Zengi's capture of Montferrat allowed the Syrian Atabeg to gain control of the upper Orontes valley. Moreover, with Hama captured, Zengi could operate between Syria more freely. The victory at Montferrat and expansion of the Zengid state gained Zengi a reputation amongst the Latins as a force to be reckoned with.
Definitely.
By weakening the power of Damascus, Zengi gained significant strength and determination to crush the Franks. Both of these traits he would find helpful, as the Atabeg would have to face one more challenge for his rule, the might of Constantinople itself.
Holy crap, the Romans are gonna get involved? Okay, I'm excited now. I mean, I'm already excited, but I'm even more excited if Rome is about to join the battle. Dang, man. This episode might have been my favorite one because it inspired a lot of emotion, sorrow from Baldwin and, you know, Baldwin's death, fear about how the Crusaders are gonna continue on, anger at Alice. Just my emotions were all over the place. This was a great one. Things are now intensifying, and I can't wait to see just how things continue. So I'm gonna end the video right here, and I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.